If you are over 60 and your blood pressure keeps creeping up no matter how careful you are with the salt, no matter how many walks you take after supper, I want you to listen to me for the next few minutes. There is one common kitchen spice that 9 out of 10 of our older folks already own, sitting in the back of the cupboard, that can soften the inside of your blood vessels and bring those numbers down within 12 weeks. The trouble is, almost everybody uses it the wrong way at the wrong time of day with the wrong food and gets none of the benefit. By the end of these few minutes, you will know exactly which spice, exactly how to use it, and the one master practice my grandmother used every single Friday until the day she died at 91 with a blood pressure reading better than most women in their 50s. My name is Rebecca Yoder. For 65 years, I have lived here in Lancaster County, caring for our older folks the way my mother cared for hers and her mother before her. 5 generations of women in my family have done this work. So before I tell you about the spice, I have to tell you what it is actually doing inside you. Because once you understand this, you will never look at your blood pressure the same way again. The number on the cuff is not the problem. The number is the messenger. The real trouble is the soft inside lining of your blood vessels, miles and miles of it, running from your toes to your skull. Doctors call this lining the endothelium. I call it the wallpaper inside the pipes. When that wallpaper is smooth and healthy, the blood slides through it like water through a clean stream bed. But when that wallpaper is irritated, scratched, inflamed, the vessels stiffen, they narrow, they clamp down, the heart has to push harder to move the same blood through, and the number on the cuff goes up. That is what high blood pressure actually is. Not too much salt, not too much stress. Stiff, scratched wallpaper. Now here is where it gets serious for our age. After 60, the body's ability to soothe that inflammation drops by nearly half compared to a woman in her 30s. The fire inside is the same. Our buckets of water are smaller, and the buckets get smaller for one specific reason that almost nobody talks about, but I will get to it in a moment, because that reason is the key to everything I am going to share with you today. Researchers from a university in Australia followed nearly 1,200 adults over the age of 60 for 5 years. The ones who used one particular kitchen spice daily had blood vessel flexibility 41% higher than those who did not. 41%, not from a pill, not from a prescription, from less than a teaspoon a day, used the right way. The English researchers who came down to study our community recorded blood pressure readings among our women over 70 that looked like readings from women in their 40s. They were not surprised by our walking. They were not surprised by our gardens. They were surprised by what was on our plates. And one spice kept showing up in their notes again and again. But before I tell you which one, you have to understand what is making your wallpaper worse right now, because the spice cannot do its work alone. There are 3 quiet forces in the daily life of every woman over 60, and most of our folks have no idea they are doing damage. The first is the morning coffee on an empty stomach. I know how dear that first cup is. But on a body over 60, with no food yet to slow it, hot coffee spikes a stress hormone called cortisol, and cortisol tightens your blood vessels for hours after. Many of our folks have their highest pressure of the day before 9 in the morning and never know it. But that is not the worst of the 3. The second is the quiet salt that hides where you would not look. Not the shaker on the table, the bread, the canned soups, the salad dressings, the cured meats. A single grocery store loaf can carry more salt than 3 home-cooked meals together, and the kidneys of a woman over 60 do not flush that salt the way they once did. Therefore, the salt sits, and the pressure climbs, and you have done nothing wrong. But this still is not the worst of the 3. The third one is the one I see destroy more older women than the other 2 combined: the broken sleep. When you wake at 3 in the morning and lie there for an hour staring at the ceiling, your body floods with that same stress hormone again. 5 nights of broken sleep can lift a blood pressure reading by 10 points all by itself. And it gets worse. because that broken sleep is not happening because of stress or worry. It is happening because of something inside your belly that started shifting around the age of 60. And that is the hidden cause I promised you. After the age of 60, the good bacteria in your gut, the ones that keep the wallpaper inside your vessels calm and soft, the ones that produce the natural compounds that keep your blood pressure steady through the night, those bacteria die off by nearly 50%. Half of them gone, and nothing in modern life replaces them. The water is treated, the food is washed clean. The fermented foods our grandmothers ate every single day have disappeared from most kitchens. Your belly, the place my grandmother said all sickness begins, is running on half the workforce it had when you were 40. And until you put those workers back, no spice and no walk and no medication will fully fix the wallpaper. I want to tell you about a woman who came to my door last spring. Eleanor, 74 years old, a retired school teacher from Cedar Rapids in Iowa. She had been on 3 blood pressure pills for 11 years, and her morning readings were still climbing past 160. Her doctor wanted to add a 4th pill. Eleanor sat at my kitchen table and said, "Rebecca, I am tired." We started her on the spice I am about to tell you about. The morning practice, the evening practice, the master practice, all of it. After 8 weeks, her readings had come down 12 points. Real progress, but not enough. Her doctor still had her on 3 pills. The wallpaper was softening, but the workforce in her belly was still running at half. So we added the one piece her body could not make for itself anymore. And 4 weeks after that, her morning reading was 134, 26 points down from where she started. Her doctor took her off the 2nd pill, then the 3rd. She wrote me a note that I have on my windowsill. "Rebecca," she wrote, "I had not realized how heavy my own head felt until it was lighter again. I will tell you what we added in just a moment, but first the spice itself, because the spice is the foundation, and without the foundation, nothing else holds. The spice is cinnamon, but not the cinnamon in the brown jar at the grocery store. That one is cassia, and cassia is harsher. In large daily amounts, cassia contains a compound that can be hard on your liver. What you want is Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon. The bark is thinner. It rolls into many soft layers. The smell is sweeter and lighter. The color is a paler tan, not a deep red brown. You will find it in any natural food store and most places online for a few dollars more than the grocery kind, and that few dollars matters. Ceylon cinnamon contains compounds called cinnamaldehydes and procyanidins. In plain words, they are the parts of the bark that calm the inflammation in your vessel walls and help your body use insulin cleanly, which keeps blood sugar steady. Steady blood sugar means steady blood pressure. The two move together like a horse and its shadow. But the cinnamon will do almost nothing for you if you use it the way most folks do, sprinkled on a sweet roll or stirred into sugary oatmeal. Sugar pulls the cinnamon compounds the wrong way and undoes much of the good. The cinnamon needs fat, not sugar, to carry it through the body properly. So here is how my grandmother used it and how I have used it for 40 years. The first practice is the morning cinnamon water. Before your coffee, before anything else, take half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon and stir it into a small cup of warm water with a squeeze of lemon. Sip it slowly over 5 or 10 minutes while you sit by the window. This blunts the cortisol spike from the empty stomach coffee, and it puts the cinnamon compounds into your bloodstream before food arrives. The second practice is cinnamon in the savory cooking, not the sweet. A pinch in the chicken broth simmering on the back of the stove. A 1/4 teaspoon in the lentil soup. A small shake into the morning oats with butter and a little salt. Spread across the day, you reach about a teaspoon without ever feeling like you are taking medicine. The third practice is the evening cinnamon milk, the one I learned from my mother. Warm a cup of milk on the stove until it just begins to steam. Stir in a 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon and a small spoonful of honey. Drink it about an hour before bed. The warmth and the cinnamon together bring down the evening cortisol that wakes so many of our older folks at 3 in the morning. And now the master practice. The bone broth with cinnamon simmered slowly through the afternoon, sipped warm in the late part of the day. This is what my grandmother did every Friday. You take the bones from a chicken or a small piece of beef shank from a butcher you trust. Cover them with cold water and a splash of apple cider vinegar to draw the minerals out of the bone. Add an onion cut in half, 2 carrots, 2 stalks of celery, a small handful of parsley, a few black peppercorns, and here is the part most folks miss: a single Ceylon cinnamon stick broken in half. Bring it slowly to a soft simmer, not a boil, and let it cook for at least 5 hours. Strain it into jars. Drink 1 warm cup in the late afternoon, around 3 or 4 o'clock, when the body's natural calm hormones are at their lowest and the blood pressure begins to creep up before supper. If you are watching this and finding it useful, this is the moment to tap subscribe, because I make these videos every week for our older folks, and I read every single comment. That is the only ask I will make of you today. Now, the spice, the broth, the morning water, the evening milk. This is the foundation, and the foundation is real. It will get most of our folks somewhere between 60 and 70% of the way home, but it will not get you the whole way home. And I have to be honest with you about that, because I have spent 40 years watching women do everything right and still hit a wall. The wall is the gut bacteria. Remember the 50% decline I told you about. The cinnamon soothes the wallpaper. The broth feeds the body the minerals it needs, but neither one of them puts the missing workers back in your belly. And until the workers are back, your sleep stays broken, your inflammation stays high, and your morning numbers stop coming down somewhere around 12 to 15 points lower than they should be. I tried everything for this myself and for the women who come to my door. Yogurt, sauerkraut, the probiotic pills from the pharmacy, which mostly do not survive the trip through the stomach. Most older folks cannot swallow capsules well anyway. My own mother could not in her last years. After many years of looking, what I have landed on is a kombucha gummy called BoochBod. And the reason I trust it is because it is built the way the old fermented foods on my grandmother's counter were built. Not just one piece. All 3. My grandmother used to say a garden needs 3 things: the seed, the soil, and the fruit. Most probiotics on the shelf give you only the seed, the bacteria themselves, and the seed dies before it ever takes root because there is nothing to feed it. BoochBod carries all 3. The prebiotic fiber that feeds the good bacteria, that is the soil. The probiotic itself, with 2 strains studied carefully in laboratories called lactospore and postbiotics LM1004, that is the seed. And the postbiotic, the actual healing compound the bacteria make once they are well fed, that is the fruit. Without all 3, the garden does not grow. With all 3, the workforce in your belly comes back, and the wallpaper inside your vessels finally finishes mending. It also carries dandelion root, which my grandmother grew along the fence line and steeped in vinegar every spring. And it is a gummy, not a pill, which matters. For our folks who have trouble swallowing capsules, who set the pill bottle down and never pick it up again, this is the difference between a thing that works and a thing that sits in the cupboard. You chew it like a piece of candy in the morning. That is the whole protocol. Over 30,000 of our older folks are using it now, and the company stands behind it with a 60-day money-back guarantee. If after 60 days your sleep has not improved, your morning numbers have not started coming down, your hands are not warmer in the morning, you send the bottles back and you get every penny returned. There is no risk to you. The only risk is doing nothing for another 12 weeks while the wallpaper keeps stiffening. The link is in the description below this video. And of course, please speak with your doctor before starting any supplement, especially if you are on a blood thinner or a blood pressure medication, because the dose of your medicine may need to be adjusted as your body heals, the way Eleanor's doctor adjusted hers. There was another woman, Frances, 81 years old, a retired nurse from Bozeman in Montana. She came to me last winter with morning readings near 170. She was tired of trying. We started her on the cinnamon water, the bone broth, the evening milk. 16 weeks later, her reading was 146. Better, but not where it needed to be. We added BoochBod that week. 8 weeks after that, her morning reading was 131. Her doctor eased her off 2 of her 3 medications, slowly, the way it should be done. She wrote me a note. "Rebecca," she wrote, "I made bread again this morning. My hands are warm." The old kneading rhythm came back. My friend, picture your own hands for a moment. The way they look in the morning when you reach for the kettle. Picture the small face of the child or grandchild who waits for you at the screen door on a summer evening. The one who calls your name in that particular way only they call it. Those hands, that voice, that doorway, those are what we are protecting. The numbers on the cuff are only the messenger. The message is the morning ahead of you, the warm bread on the cutting board, the slow walk down the lane with someone you love. It is never too late. The body of a woman of 70 or 75 or 80 still knows how to mend itself. The wallpaper still smooths, the vessels still soften, the workers still come back when you feed them properly. There is much living still to do, and you are the one tending this garden. Start the cinnamon tomorrow morning. Start the broth this Friday. And if you want the missing piece, the workforce your belly cannot rebuild on its own anymore, the link to BoochBod is in the description below, with the 60-day guarantee waiting for you. Tap it now before you close this video while you are thinking of it, because the women who tap it now are the women who write me notes about warm hands and quiet mornings 12 weeks from today. May your kitchen be warm tonight, and your sleep be quiet, and your morning be your own. I will see you next time.